Hello there. Just caught me thinking about what I want to get done today. We've been talking a lot about goal setting throughout the COPD Foundation universe this week, and I want to encourage some more of that conversation, particularly with those folks who might be using oxygen. Goal setting has been a really important part of my life in particular, and I think we see that a lot of folks out there really benefit from establishing these goals daily, weekly, monthly, even years down the road. And why is that? Well, I can tell you a few things from my own personal experience. I admittedly have not had a chronic lung condition like COPD, but I have struggled with some chronic health things throughout my life, particularly with my weight. I used to weigh about 360 pounds, and eventually I was inspired, as a matter of fact, by the COPD community to make some healthier choices in my life. Of course, that didn't happen overnight, and I had to establish goals to get me from where I was to where I wanted to be. And I found that the first thing that those goals did was really give me a sense of hope because it let me figure out where I could get to, where I could start improving some of my activity level, where I could walk a little bit more, the things that I wanted to do. My wife is a lifelong tennis player, and I wanted to be able to to share some of that activity time with her. So that was one of my goals, was to learn how to play tennis and be able to play tennis. But even at a more basic level, I wanted to be able to be awake for the kids a little bit more and get my sleep apnea under control. And again, just kind of set all of these goals so that I had something to look forward to. I had something to aspire to. Because as I did that, I found myself wanting for more. When I achieved one goal, I would want to go on to the next step and be more active and have more fun times with friends and family. It is important, though, to remember that these goals have to be practical. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go out there and run a marathon or even a 5K or anything like that overnight. I was going to have to take it literally one step at a time. And a lot of folks who deal with shortness of breath due to low oxygen levels or because you just are dealing with that obstruction and cough and all that sort of thing, it's important to take these things easy to begin with. Again, you're not going to be able to go out there and maybe do 1,000 steps, but maybe you can do 100 steps, and then tomorrow maybe you can do 120 steps, and you start making these practical short improvements in your lifestyle and in your activity level, and then you continue to set more and more aggressive goals until you can get to where you actually want to be at a safe level. We'll come back to that in a minute. Another thing that's really helpful is keeping track of your goals because that's what helps keep yourself accountable. Again, it wasn't an overnight thing. I used my activity tracker, which had guides, and I could say, oh, wow, a month ago I was only doing 5,000 steps, and now I'm doing 7,000 steps. I could join competitions and be a little competitive with some friends of mine, things like that. But most importantly, I was accountable to myself because it's really easy. I spent most of my life saying, "Well, I'll start on Monday. I'll get healthy tomorrow. New week, new me, all that kind of stuff." And Monday rolled around, and I was like, "Boy, this was a rough weekend, and just couldn't quite do it." So I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow stretches on to next week, and then next week is next month, and then someday I'll get healthy. I'm just not in that place right now. But when you start keeping yourself accountable by looking at your goals and seeing, did I achieve this? No. If not, what are the barriers to achieving that? And if so, good for you. Congratulations. Now what are our next goals? Now, like I said, we want to make sure that we're doing this in a safe and effective manner. We don't want to overdrive ourselves, particularly those of us with breathing problems. And it's really easy to do so as we start getting into the holiday season here. It's really easy to, especially since this is one of the first times maybe in a couple of years where it's been relatively safe to gather. And again, in many parts of the country, it may not be safe to gather. So I encourage everybody to be looking at your local health infrastructure, your local health resources, as well as organizations like the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, which give us really good guidance on how we can gather safely. If it's possible. But in any event, we want to be able to participate in these parties and get-togethers and everything else. But it's important to be able to pace yourself. There's a theory out there, it's fairly well known, called the spoon theory. And that tells us we start each day with a certain number of spoons. And each strenuous activity starts taking away some of those spoons. So maybe you wake up in the morning and you take a shower, brush your teeth, and start making breakfast, and that's going to cost you a spoon. And then you have to maybe, I don't know, maybe you have to run an errand or two, and that's another spoon. And then you want to get together with some friends, and you go out to another errand, and you have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon, and that's a lot going on after lunch and friends and doctors, and now that's 2 spoons gone. And now you're closing in on the end of the day, and you need to either cook dinner, play with the grandkids, or tidy up the house a little bit, but you've only got 1 spoon left. So which one are you going to pick? And so some days are going to be more spoon consuming than others. For example, in my own life, again, we recently had a sewer backup in the middle of the day. That was pretty unexpected, as these things are. And that took a few spoons even out of my silverware drawer. So it's going to be even worse for folks who are already dealing with a limited number of spoons. So sometimes we have these things that we can predict, but also sometimes it's important to remember that you just need to pace yourself and maybe put something off until tomorrow, or remind yourself that sometimes it is okay to say, no, I'm just not up to that today. Now, we don't want that to happen too often. So finally, it's important to be able to find some alternative ways to engage in these activities that are going to preserve your spoons and keep you at a safe activity level. For example, cooking a meal is a great example of that, because maybe you want to have some family over and you want to have a big Sunday dinner, or it's one of your holiday meals. Well, maybe you're not the one that's standing over the oven, standing all the time and balancing and cooking and lifting pans and all that stuff. Maybe you are cutting up vegetables and you're still social and engaged and chatting and having a good time. Maybe you're out wrapping presents, wrapping up some of these holiday gifts in a seated position where it's conserving your energy level a little bit more. There are a ton of ways that you can preserve your strength, conserve your energy, and improve your endurance simply by making some basic modifications in how you're engaging with these activities. And that keeps you connected with your friends and family, and that keeps you excited all the way through this hustle and bustle of the season. So hopefully that gives you a few pointers on why it's important to set goals, why it's important to maintain these goals and keep an eye on your goals, as well as some ways to do it safely and make sure that you're engaging effectively with everybody that you care about. So with that, I wish everybody a great day. Hope you are able to do your plans and make everything come true for you today, this week, and this entire holiday season. Take care, everybody.